Welcome to my channel, Knitting Fingers. My name is Helen. Today I will demonstrate how to use a ribbing attachment with a Brother electronic knitting machine. The attachment actually, according to what the manual says, was put in 1971. It was handwritten by the owner, and I didn't know if it was going to work because it's so old, and I was surprised to see how well it worked. But for the most part, ribbers work the same way in all machines. The only difference is the name of the buttons, and some have dials, some have buttons, some have levers. So just follow the steps of the manual. There's manuals online. They are free downloads for most of the knitting machine manuals online. So I read the manual and I recorded it, and we're going to go step by step matching the recording. So I hope you like it. Thanks for watching my channel, and I'll be right back with the steps. Alright, I'm back and I'm going to play the recording, and we're going to go step by step. Tutorial for ribbing attachment, Brother model KR830. How to knit 1x1 rib. 1x1 rib is most widely used for waistbands in sweaters, cuffs, collars, pockets, and for many other decorative purposes. The rib is produced by having knit stitch over knit stitch and purl stitch over purl stitch in vertical lines, and is soft and elastic. In the following example, medium thickness wool is used for the practice. I want to clarify something. When they refer to medium thickness, they are specifically talking about thin yarn. These machines don't work very well with thick yarns because these are standard machines, so they knit smaller. So for the most part, you can use, and you're safe when using baby yarn to ply, sports yarn, or fine yarn, sock yarn. I prefer to use sock yarn. Is very good, but you can use baby yarn and sports yarn, no big deal. So I'm gonna hit play again and see what the recording tells us. Casting on for 1x1 rib. Setting of carriage. Carriage KH. Change knob and L. Tension dial 0. Holding cam lever N. Pattern selector button plain. Carriage KR. Slide lever 2. Tension dial 0. Cam lever left N. Right N. Tucking lever R. Holding cam lever left N. Right N. Needle arrangement. Set the half pitch lever on P. By using 1x1 needle pusher, arrange the plain needles and purl needle. I'm going to stop it there because I forgot one step. And set this scale on 5. By using 1x1 needle pusher, arrange the plain needles and purl needles in position B of each bed. In this case, I'm going to cast on only 30 stitches. So 15 stitches at each side of the 0 on both beds. So here's the 0, right? And so I'm going to push 15 needles and then another 15 needles to make 30. And the same, the bottom of the machine in the ribbing attachment. And then I'm going to use my 1x1 needle pusher and push every other needle from the main bed. There you go. And I'm going to do the same on the ribbing attachment. Both end needles must be plain needles. What it means by that is that there's a rule when you're using a ribbing attachment or when your machine has a ribber. This applies to the majority of machines. The rule is that you have to start with one main bed needle and end with one main needle. You cannot start with a ribbing needle or end with a ribbing needle. So in this case, we're starting with a main bed needle and we are ending with a ribbing needle. So this cannot happen. I'm going to push this one down and the last needle has to be a main bed needle. That's the rule. Very important. By operating the connected carriage a few times over all arranged needles, the needles on KH and KR needle beds will be set in a line on position B. They are aligned. Place the connected carriage at right end of the needle bed. It's on the right. First row knitting. Thread the yarn into the yarn tension unit. And I am not going to explain how to thread the yarn in the tension unit mast because that I explained that in other videos, and there are many good videos in YouTube that you can watch to learn how to do that. Thread the yarn into the yarn tension unit and hold the end of yarn as shown here. Pass the yarn between both gate pegs and catch the end of yarn with left hand. Hold the yarn with right hand. Continue to hold the end of yarn with left hand. Pass to the yarn feeder. Pass the yarn into the yarn feeder securely. Continue to hold the end of yarn with left hand and move the connected carriage from right to left. Right now what I do is I grab a clothing pin and pin it to the tail so I'm not worried about that, and I wrap it around the knot my stand has. If you don't want to do that, you can hold it with your left hand and just pass the carriage, but since I'm managing the camera, it's kind of difficult to do that, so I need my left hand free. So I'm going to pass the connected carriages from right to left. And as you can see, we have a zigzag pattern going on, and the yarn cut both beds needles. Hang on the cast on comb. Pull out the wire from the cast on comb. Choose long or short one depending on the knitting width. Here is my cast on comb. Actually, believe it or not, this is the short one because I have just 30 stitches or 29 stitches going on, something like that. So I will try to center it in the knitting because otherwise the weight is not going to be even. And this is the wire the manual refers to. Hold the cast on comb with the face having the protrusions facing you and the teeth on top. Put the cast on comb between the knitter and the ribber from underneath and insert the teeth between the plain and purl needles in such a way that the top of the comb does not disturb or drop the yarn hanging on the needles. Alright, so I am going to pull this wire, but not all the way out, because it's very difficult to put it back in, because the holes these pegs have are tiny. So I'm going to try to put the custom comb underneath, and the pegs have to be positioned between each zigzag. Alright, so the pegs are in between each needle, and I'm going to start pushing the wire in, and then I'm going to let the custom comb hang. Pass the wire through the teeth with your right hand. Done. While holding the comb with your left hand. Done. Hook the loose end of the yarn around the yarn clip to keep it out of the way and to tense the first stitch. Or clip it with a clothing clip. So what I did is I unwrapped the tail from the knot. I had it because if I don't do that, then the custom comb gets stuck and the machine will drop the stitches. Hang on the weights. Hang the weights as per standard weight chart. The chart is as follows. If you cast on 50 stitches, hang a large weight. From 50 to 100 stitches, hang 2 large weights. From 100 to 150 stitches, hang 3 large weights and 2 small weights. From 150 to 200, hang 4 weights, large ones, and 2 small ones. I'm gonna show this to you in my this is my pass-up custom comb, but it's pretty much the same. So these combs come with holes at the bottom where you can hang this type of this type of weights. There's large and small weights. So this manual has a table that tells you how many weights you have to hang depending on the stitches you're using or you're casting on. But I'm a little bit paranoid, as I've said in other videos, so I usually hang 3 weights to make sure that the work in the knitting has the proper tension. One more thing, make sure that the end of the yarn, this one, the last needle, is cut under the wire. If it's not cut under the wire, it's gonna drop the knitting. How to knit a perfect selvage. Set the carriages as follows. Main carriage, 1, NL, N, partial. Ribbon carriage, left N, right N. Okay, I just want to clarify that. The manual says put the change knob on NL. This is for older models. Punch card models used to have a button NL, which was normal and lace. In my case, my machine is more modern, so it just has a normal button. If you have any other type of machine, brother, of course, just look for the N. Wherever the N is, you put a change knob there and it will work. Another thing is the partial knitting is the second button from right to left. So it's not this button, just one button in this case. We're going to push this one. Ribbon carriage. Left N, right N, N, R, PR, 1. Move the connected carriage from left to right. Only the plain needles knit. As you can see, I moved the carriage from left to right, and in fact, as the manual said, only the main bed needles knit. That's the partial knitting. Move the connected carriage from right to left. The purl needles knit. And in fact, the purl needles knit only. Move the connected carriage from left to right. The plain needles knit. The perfect selvage has been completed. And this is the way it's supposed to look. That is a closed cast on, meaning there's no live stitches. One by one rib knitting. After knitting the selvage, set the carriages as follow. Main carriage, 2, NL, N, plain. Ribbon carriage, left, N, right, N, N, R, 2, N, 1. Then continue the knitting. If you notice, I disconnected the partial knitting on both carriages. Here, by pushing the plain button, which pushed out the partial knitting button. In this case, the partial knitting button was this one, so it was here. I put it back to N. These remain the same in N. This remains the same in R. This remains the same in 1. Now we will continue knitting as usual. I'm going to knit several rows. Don't take the carriage back until you hear the click or the carriage passes the last working needle. You are now able to do a finished end cast on. This method is very important. Therefore, please practice this cast on 2 or 3 times. Now I'm going to knit several rows. And here you can see how the knitting is going. So it worked out really well. Now, let me pass my carriage to the right. To finish the work, we're gonna use this tool. This is a double end or double eye needle. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna transfer the ribbing stitches to the main bed needles. So we're going to pull one empty needle and we're going to transfer this to that one. And to do so, you're just going to hook the needle in the eye of the 2-eye needle. So notice how I do it all the way down, passing the latch. So when I come back, the latch closes. Now I just slide it very carefully, hook the other end or the other eye on the main bed needle and transfer the stitch. And I'm going to do that with all the remaining stitches, and then I'm going to cast off the same way I usually do. And here is the finished piece with that same yarn. This is sock yarn, actually, it's fine yarn, and very elastic, Look, this is the close cast on that we just did. See how there's no live stitches. I didn't have to use waste yarn. It's ready. It's very nice, very elastic, and it came out really pretty. Didn't drop one stitch, and that's all there is to it. So for all the people that asked me to post a video about the ribbon attachment, here you have it. I hope it helps you. As I said, most knitting machines work the same. And please don't forget to check my blog, www.knittingfingers.com, and the name of you will find the address at the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.